Okay, next project. What I have here is some beef broth that I've made up. Just beef broth. What I have here is, there you go, ground beef. And we're going to be preserving this by dehydrating it. But first, let's get the broth on and get it hot. Now, there's a stipulation to dehydrating beef. To dehydrate beef and have it shelf survivable, you have to eliminate every speck of fat you can. Now, they say fat is calories. Calories is nutrition. It is. So we're not going to waste it. Rather than cook the beef in water, I'm going to cook it in broth. 2 reasons. 1, to maintain flavor. The broth will help maintain the flavor of the beef without... If you just cook it in water, you strip the flavor right out of it. But we want to cook the fat out of it. So we're going to cook it for about 20 minutes in broth. And then we're going to take it out and drain it, and we're going to rinse it under running hot water through a fine mesh sieve to rinse away as much fat as possible. Boiling it in the broth is going to force the fat out to the surface. And then rinse it under hot water, you get rid of more of the fat. Then we dehydrate it to beef gravel, and it should last a month or 2. It won't last as long as the dehydrated onions I showed you in the last video. But it is a way of making it last longer. Once it's dehydrated, if you keep it in the freezer, it'll last even longer than this would in the freezer. But at the same time, because we're cooking it in broth, we can use the broth to make soup with now. And get the full use of the beef on both ends of the process. So what I have here, these are patties. I always thought that was wasteful, but let me turn you down so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to tear these off into little chunks and drop them into the broth. See, I wish I had this fresh from the grinder instead of like patty, but you deal with what you got. Now I want you to understand that this video is probably being made a full month or more ahead of you actually getting to see it. So if this video gets published, say, towards the end of May, you can figure it was probably made a month in advance of that. At least. I'm not sure just when it will get scheduled. I'm just saying, just so you understand it. This is being made well in advance of getting published. Because this is what I do. I make my videos, I get them edited and uploaded and scheduled. That way I have a new video coming out on my channel every 3rd day, minimum. Sometimes I have one more often, but at least every 3rd day is what I've been shooting for. So, now we don't want to overload this pot, so I'll bring you back when I get this process completely finished. Well, there's the second full batch getting going. Okay, just cut that down, clamp the lid on it. Let's take you over here. And hot tap water. Until the water runs clean. Now yes, we're losing some flavor doing this, but we're losing a lot of the fat. And that's going to extend the shelf life of this once it's been dehydrated greatly. I'd say that's running pretty clear. We're just going to set it and let it drip for a bit. Okay, there's tray number 2, loaded, ready to go on. And all that broth I had, well, it has been reduced to that. Mostly fat with some broth underneath it. Let's shut it off. Here's what's going to happen to it. It's going to go back into this bucket and go back in the fridge to chill. Oh yeah, it's got some of the broth left in there. Okay. Once it cools, it'll go in here and go in the fridge to sit up and let the fat solidify. I'll separate the fat, then I'll bring it back here, put it in the pot and reduce it some more. Then I'm going to bring it over here to the dehydrator, and the next time I go around, I'll add a tray of whatever I'm dehydrating, and I'll add one of those, and I'll put what's left of the broth on that and dehydrate it down, and I'll have what's called pocket soup, because once it's dried and brittle I can grind it into a powder and stash it away in a baggie, and it can go anywhere in your pocket or in your pack or whatever and become basis for a soup to go along with that dehydrated beef gravel. That's what's up from the smithy for now. I'm thinking about doing a whole turkey this way too, but that's another video. And there it is, beef gravel on the dehydrator, 180 degrees Fahrenheit, or 71°C for my metrically inclined friends. Well, welcome back. It is now 10 p.m. We're just shy thereof. And I'm reasonably certain that my beef gravel is now complete. Ain't that just a thing of beauty? Wow, that's hot. Yeah, what do you want? It's running at 100 and... what was it, 180 degrees? 71 Celsius. If I remember correctly. Yeah, 180 degrees Celsius, Fahrenheit. 71 Celsius, whatever. Now here's the next thing that we want to remember. Yes, this is dehydrated. Yes, it can sit on the shelf for several months, as is. The only thing is, how long will it stay on the shelf good that way at room temperature? Yes, this is completely dry. It crumbles. That's the way we want it. Let's not forget that which fell through. In spite of those fine mesh screens, some of it still fell through. Okay. Waste not, want not. So this is going to go into the freezer, which will simply extend its shelf life. Because remember, as I said, with this sort of thing, beef gravel, it's not a matter of that it's not dried. It's that there is still a certain amount of fat in the meat. And it's the fat that will go bad in dried beef. It will go rancid. And we don't want to waste it, so we'll keep it in the freezer. Anywho, you remember that broth that I cooked it in? Well, let me show you what we've done with that. Ain't that just a thing of beauty? That's it. That's what's left out of it. Okay. Here's what's left of the broth. Look at how much fat we took out of it. Out of the beef. Ain't that just a thing of beauty? Now then, what I'm going to do, and I will do this on the dehydrator rather than try and do it here on the table and then lift it up. Not a whole lot of it left because I reduced it down quite a bit. And here come my jelly roll trays. I will put them on the base. I will pour my broth on and we will let her go again for a while and dehydrate down. Let's tilt you up so you can see what I'm actually doing, maybe. Pardon looking at my back, but I may only need one tray here. Look at that. One tray is all that's needed. Now what do we get from that, do you ask? What we get from that is something that in the 17th and 18th century was called pocket soup. Now they used beef broth or beef juice, whatever you want to call it, and they would cook it down until it was a gelatinous state, and then they would slice it and lay it out in a breezy place and let it dry. Days. I'm speeding the whole process up by putting it into the dehydrator. This time tomorrow, that stuff will be crumbly, just like the hamburger. That's what we've got. Freehand this part. This is what's left of that beef broth. Now I'm going to have to scrape it off there, and that's going to take two hands. But I'll show you that when I get it off onto the paper. Oh, never mind. I decided I'd turn the camera on so you could watch what I was doing. Now, I would have liked to have had a lot more of this stuff on here than what I wound up with, but I'm going to just work with what I had. This is what in the 17th and 18th century they called pocket soup. Now they did it a little differently. They didn't use a dehydrator. They didn't have the electricity, but they created the same thing and in basically the same fashion. It just took a lot longer. As I say, they would have slabbed it out as a gelatin and laid it out to dry in a breezy place. And then scraped it up much as I'm doing here. Now this I don't believe is quite finished drying, because once I get it off of here, I'm going to have to put it back on and put it back in the dehydrator. Because on the underside it seems to be sticky. So, and I don't want it sticky at all. I want it like this piece, completely dry. But that's okay. It's just a little more time in the dehydrator. Now the way this stuff would be used is you would just simply drop it into some boiling water, just a small amount, to rehydrate it. And then you'd add chunks of meat to it, and some vegetables you'd chop up. And this was the 17th and 18th century version of bouillon cubes. Well, there we go. I pretty much got it all scraped off of the jelly tray. And now I'm going to put it back on the jelly tray. And let it dry some more. Go, just spread it back out some, and when it's all dried up, here's the baggie I'm going to put it in. You think that won't fit? Trust me, it will. And just like that. And my little baggie, I'm just going to stick up there for now. Peace out. By the way, don't forget to